Thank you, Matt. Presenting on the construction industry, Cory Moore, National President with Big D Construction. Cory has been in the industry for over 20 years. Since overseeing sales, the firm has experienced revenue growth of 300%.
Thank you for having me today. I'm very honored to be part of this group and to be part of the NAIOP community. I want to thank the NAIOP committee, the board, their leadership for all they've done to make this well-organized event come off. This is the first time that construction has been a topic of discussion at this symposium, and I hope that some of my thoughts are helpful to you. First, let's talk about what's happening in the construction industry. As most of you know, and has been highlighted today, the market is robust. Nearly every market segment is experiencing growth in nearly all states, and especially along the Wasatch Front. That robust global market is having a major effect on construction pricing. The chart shown here depicts the construction GDP in Utah, which has reached nearly its pre-recession high. We are building the same volume of work today that we did pre-recession. Projects costs are on the rise, and it is not tough to understand why. It is mainly driven by two things: material costs and a labor shortage, which is driving labor costs up significantly. Material costs are up 6.6% as a whole over just the last year, and 21% since 2010. Metals and petroleum-based products registered the largest increases. From October of 17 to October of 18, there were increases of 27% for diesel fuel, 18.2% for steel mill products, 11.6% for asphalt paving mixtures, and 8.2% for aluminum mill shapes. The large increases in steel and aluminum costs in the past year are attributable in large part to the 25% tariff on foreign steel and 10% tariff on foreign aluminum imposed last summer. So what should we expect material prices to do? Material costs are hard to predict. With the mixed messages about tariffs and trade agreements, however, I foresee material costs will most likely rise 4 to 6% in 2019 and 2 to 4% annually after 2019. Our industry will have to continue to work on rapid resolution of trade disputes in order to lower the cost of these goods. As much as we're all feeling the effects of material increases, it pales in comparison to our shortage of construction labor. From project managers to carpenters, I have never seen a shortage in labor like we're having right now. How did we get here? It's fairly simple. It started in the Great Recession. 11.7 million construction workers left the industry in 2005, which dwindled to 10.2 million in 2016. 1.5 million people left the industry, and they did not come back. In Utah alone, we are currently building near the same volume of work we did in 2006. However, we're doing it with more than 3,000 less workers. Utah construction unemployment went from 21% in 2010 down to 3.4% in 2018. Simply put, there are plenty of construction jobs available, but not enough workers to fill those jobs. Adding to the difficulty, contractors cannot pull enough labor from other states, as we have traditionally been able to do. Nearly every state has a thriving construction market. Workers do not want to travel if they can be home, if they can be close to their families. If you ask someone in the industry to travel, they can easily get a job somewhere else. So what effect is this labor shortage having on projects? First, it's driving up costs, as the market requires those who want labor to pay higher prices for this scarce commodity. Over the last year, the average construction worker's wages have gone from $756 a week in the recession to nearly $1,100 a week in 2018. This includes field labor and management positions, as we continue to pay higher salaries and remarkable benefits to retain and recruit talent. So, the first effect labor is having on projects is increased project costs, mainly due to limited labor. In addition to limited labor, we are using more temporary, less skilled labor, which drives down efficiency. This lack of available labor and untrained labor leads to projects with longer than normal schedules. Even as general contractors are extremely proactive in communicating and requiring subcontractors to supply the appropriate amount of labor in order to successfully manage project schedules, they are often let down by subs who simply cannot keep promised labor from leaving. They lose labor to someone willing to pay more. In addition, many subs take on too much work, or their job schedules change, and juggling changes wrecks their staffing plans. I'm sure everyone has felt the effects of this. Looking at the number of expected retirements in the next several years versus the number of people reaching working age, it appears likely the scramble to attract and retain workers will continue. Therefore, I expect labor costs to keep rising at a 4 to 5% annual rate for the next couple of years. For labor, it will be crucial for industry professionals to focus on investments in career and technical education, as well as immigration reform that would enable construction employers to bring in foreign workers, while enough locally available construction workers are in short supply. Okay, so we've established that material costs and labor costs are going up and will be for most likely another couple of years. So what can we do about it? Mainly, proactively manage your projects, eliminating decisions that magnify material pricing and the labor shortage. Let's talk about some ways to reduce your risk in the midst of the labor crunch and material surge. One way to reduce your risk is to pick the right construction manager and subcontractors with specific market segment experience. Your contractor must know and have a good working relationship with key subcontractors in each market segment. For example, if you're building a multifamily project, it is important your contractor understands the nuances of multifamily, the need for a larger management team, the required cadence, sequencing, and flow of work, what production rates are achievable and required to meet the schedule. Subs without specific market sector experience will not provide the lowest appropriate bid. Their crews will not be as productive and will provide lower quality. It is also important to ensure the subcontractor can provide the right amount of labor at the appropriate time in the schedule. Also, be aware of leased or contracted labor. Some subcontractors use out-of-house third-party crews. Leased labor is not loyal labor. They will leave the project for 50 cents to $1 more down the road where they're willing to pay a bit more. This is a devastating effect on a project and always leads to cost and schedule problems. Work with your general contractor to make sure this is not the case on your project. One of the more innovative ways I have seen projects keep momentum and their labor force focused is by providing small creature comforts or incentives to the project teams. It is amazing how a nice break area, accessible and additional water stations and restrooms can benefit a project. I have also seen owners buy lunches or have food trucks brought to the site, in addition to providing garb such as hats and t-shirts to the crews. Some jobs are providing gift cards as rewards for crews meeting milestones set for the week or day to help provide a little extra effort and time from the crews. These small items go a long way to keep crews productive and loyal to your project. Think about setting aside a little money on your next project. A little goes a long way. One of the biggest problems I see are owners taking on too much risk related to setting budgets with incomplete or uncoordinated drawings. In the traditional delivery method, the one most people call hard bid, the general contractors are provided drawings to bid. Sometimes those drawings are complete and coordinated, sometimes they are not. This becomes a huge problem. You have to think about it this way. incomplete drawings used to bid from equate to incomplete bids. The number is only a representation of what is on the drawings. If the drawings are incomplete, so is the number every time. This is going to lead to change orders throughout the project that drive costs up and extend the schedule. Make sure you finish your drawings and that they are coordinated. I see this often. With the current price of materials rising and the labor being so scarce, incomplete design and change orders ruin a project's chance of success. Choose your architectural and engineering team wisely. I've worked with many out-of-state architects, and we have some of the best firms available right here in our backyard. Talk to your design team. Ensure that they understand your expectations of completed and coordinated design. It is important to remember that the subcontractors bidding the job must bid only what is on the drawings. If they try to be, quote, nice guys and bid what they see missing or what ought to be on the drawings, they will, most of the time, not win the bid. They will lose. So subs only bid what is on the drawings. They have no choice. Many times, projects lose bidders because they know incomplete drawings means a tough project for them, one with lots of changes and lower ROI. Bidding incomplete or uncoordinated drawings leads to RFIs, change orders, increased costs, and extended schedules, something none of us want. If you are thinking, well, I use the CM at risk or the CMGC delivery method, therefore I will not have those problems. You might be right, but you also might be wrong. Let me explain. In a CMGC delivery, the contractor sits side by side with the architect and engineers during the design phase, providing estimates and schedules that help lead the design to the desired outcome that meets the owner's budget. Sounds very nice and smart, and it is. However, there is a common mistake made in CMGC that owners and developers make too often. That is, setting a GMP too early, not really knowing what a GMP truly is. A GMP stands for Guaranteed Maximum Price, which makes you believe that it is a guarantee from your contractor of what your project is going to cost. It absolutely is not. Most of the time, a GMP is set before the drawings are complete, meaning drawings are 25 to 75% complete when a GMP is set. A GMP is not a guarantee of the project cost. It is a guarantee of the cost of the incomplete drawings and the assumptions made by the contractor. Assumptions planned and expected to fill in for not only what is missing on the drawings, but also by anticipating the owner and architect's intentions. I have seen too many times the owner lock in financing without understanding this significant distinction. You must understand what is in your drawings and what is not. You must understand all the assumptions and clarifications that your contractor has made and make sure you agree with them. Often, the owner does not really know what his guarantee is based off of and has different expectations of what should have been included in design. This leads again to change orders, increased project costs, and lost time. No one wants to go back to their investors and ask for more money, or have to write checks to provide enough equity for the bank to continue funding the job, but this happens more often than it should. Pay attention to what a GMP really is and make sure you agree with it. One way to reduce your risk of a GMP is to carry the appropriate contingency. At 75% complete documents, you should have around a 3% contractor and 3% owner contingency to compensate for incomplete design and missed assumptions, let alone for risk associated with today's labor market conditions. If you are setting a GMP earlier in the design process, those contingency numbers should go up. If your performer will not allow for this type of contingency, you may consider walking them away from the deal. It's probably not a good deal. Another contingency to consider, especially during the labor market shortage, is a schedule contingency. Certainly, you should hold your contractor to a realistic schedule, but I would suggest with your tenants and in your lease agreements, you include extra time for the effects of the labor shortage. Understandably, most of the time, an early GMP is driven by the developer needing to win the deal, turn in a lease rate, and acquire financing. Maybe one of the most important things you can do is proactively ensure your lease agreements match your GMP. The best way is to attach the GMP to the lease and ensure the lease language contemplates all the risks associated with the assumptions made in the GMP. Having a GMP that does not match the lease documents always leads to developers finding themselves in a tough position. It is also important to limit the amount of changes you make after a GMP is set. Even though the design is incomplete, it is better to try and stick to the GMP and assumptions. This is very hard and takes an enormous amount of discipline. If you don't limit changes, you may very well end up in a tough spot with your investors and with regard to your lease. It is best to try to establish a GMP as late in the design process as possible. As a recap, project costs are rising, along with material prices and labor costs. The limited available labor is having a negative effect on production and schedule adherence. Be extra diligent in picking contractors and subcontractors, as well as ensuring that you take the appropriate precautions and use the suitable contingency when you are depending on construction numbers based on incomplete design. If you do those things, you will have a successful, smooth project and ensure you keep your investors, bank, and tenants happy. When projects go well, building is fun and exciting. There's a major sense of pride when you can take a step back and see something solid that you have built. There's a pronounced camaraderie in our industry, one that distinctly grows only through building something together as a team, a sort of loyalty and honor for each other and the proud tradition of building. I am proud to be a builder, and thank you for your time.